Imagine getting paid just for sharing your thoughts on products and services you use every day. With Survey Junkie, it's that simple. Click on the link in the video description to discover how you can start earning today by taking surveys.
D. Ave Yeager didn't join the U.S. Army to become a pathological gambler. But after re-enlisting as a food inspection specialist in the wake of 9/11, Yeager arrived at his base hotel in Seoul, Korea, feeling overwhelmed and restless. "I'm walking around and find a casino-style slot machine room," says the 57-year-old former sergeant. "As soon as I sat down, the first thing I noticed was that my shoulders started to relax. Then I won, and it was like a dopamine hit. In that moment, all of the fear and anger and stress that I was feeling just went away. Suddenly and without warning, a night of gambling here and there became a 7-day-a-week addiction, one that had him phoning home for more money, pawning personal effects and stealing from his unit." When a demotion in rank failed to curb Yeager's reckless behavior, his bosses threw up their hands. "My commander, a colonel I really respect, basically said in few words, 'We have no idea what to do with you because you're such a stellar performer.'" He recalls of the Come to Jesus meeting that preceded his transfer to a U.S. duty station. "Nobody ever used the word gambling. It was this problem you have. While the boom unleashed by the 2018 legalization of sports betting raised fears of an emerging addiction crisis, this institutional problem, at the heart of the U.S. military, can be traced back decades, to the rooms like the one Yeager ventured into in Korea. In 1951, Congress banned slot machines from military bases in the U.S. In the 70s, the Army and Air Force pulled them from foreign bases only to slowly bring them back in the 80s, with the idea that it would keep the troops from running into off-base trouble. Currently, the U.S. military operates more than 3,000 slot machines on bases in 12 countries, down from 8,000 slots in 94 countries in 1999, according to the Pentagon. That's besides the other chance games the military sponsors on bases, with service members as young as 18 able to participate. The remaining slot machines alone rake in more than $100 million annually, money that each branch steers into groups supporting morale, welfare, and recreation initiatives on all bases such as movie theaters and golf courses. None of that money, Yeager notes, goes toward education, screening, or prevention. When you fall into a gambling problem, he says, it's not treated as a mental health issue and an addiction. It's treated as a money problem and a disciplinary issue. All the while, service members spiral deeper down the hole. A 2003 patient chart analysis at One Veterans Affairs, VA, medical center found that, of the patient population that had attempted suicide, 64% blamed gambling-related harms for pushing them to the brink. 3 years later, the suicide death of a decorated Army helicopter pilot forced the general public to somewhat reckon with the military's gambling problem. A 2016 survey of Iraq War veterans concluded that 4.2% had become at-risk gamblers subsequent to being deployed. According to the National Council on Problem Gambling, an estimated 56,000 active duty service members may meet the criteria for gambling disorder, which more generally affects an estimated 1% of Americans, roughly the same percentage of the adult population currently in active duty service. Both demographics skew heavily male. In a 2021 Rutgers University study of gambling in the military, the researcher Mark van der Moss deduced that active and retired military service members were more than twice as likely to become problem gamblers than the general population, and even that may be underestimating the actual figures by quite a margin. People tend not to think of the different things they're doing as capital G gambling because that's such a morally loaded term, van der Moss says. A sports bettor, for example, might not think they're gambling because they put so much time and research into it. Van der Moss's research suggests a connection between military service and poor mental outcomes for women, a less studied gambling cohort relative to men. Generally speaking, there are fewer women with gambling disorder compared with men, he says. But when we talk about the reasons why people gamble, women are more likely to say that they gamble to help deal with negative emotional state. In both the U.S. and Canada, women in military service or on police forces are exposed to sexual harassment and assault on the job. Understanding how being in that emo